I decided after years of supporting the PLP and actually working with the PLP, and of course, in some instances, we will get fed up. It's normally a family gets fed up, but then it gets to a point where you have to leave home. So after being in the PLP, actually since I was in my teens and having run for the PLP and served in Parliament for 3 terms under the PLP, it was clear to me that the PLP was no longer the party that I was used to. We all know that the parties have had a history in Bermuda, and of course, it's had a history in some instances that has been very positive for Bermuda. We've moved Bermuda on from being a racist establishment. When I got elected for the first time, I was a part of the team that got elected for the first time under the PLP. Unfortunately, the PLP of those times is not the PLP of today. So I decided that I would be a part of the coalition that was looking at, and the team, I should say more importantly, that was looking at changing the political paradigm in Bermuda, looking at other options. And we, of course, have never had a party group. Of course, we have had people who have run as independents, but we've never had a group, a party of people that ran. And we are not a political party, we are independent candidates. We are all have our own voice, and when we're in Parliament, we don't have to be dictated to by a party. We don't have to be told how to vote, etc. So we have decided to come together as a group of Bermudians, UBP, PLP, Black, White, Portuguese, the whole team that people like to classify us under. I don't particularly like those terms, but anyway, that's what we use in Bermuda. And so we've gotten together and we've decided that we are going to help change Bermuda, get away from the political system, which is very divided and causes a lot of unnecessarily behavior in Parliament and also in the community. So those are the reasons that I have decided to put my hat and also be a part, of course, of forming the group who are actually taking the independent movement forward. And so we have a number of people, all ages, young people, old people, and we're going to do what we can do to shift Bermuda away from party politics only and have another choice, and that would be the independence. So with that, if you have any questions, let me know. You have the pamphlets that I gave out when I was canvassing this weekend, so feel free to ask me any questions you want.
Thank you very much for your remarks this morning. You mentioned that you moved away from the PLP. I guess what in your view changed that made you decide to leave?
Well, it's a party that doesn't have a clue, in actual fact, how to run a country. I mean, it is very challenging, and I think people do the best they could do, quite frankly. But it's very challenging when you have a group of people, 90% plus, who've never run anything running a country. And it became clear that help was needed, and help is needed to take Bermuda forward, quite simply. So I think the Byrd administration has done the best they could do, but it's just not enough. And people need to have much more going on in their lives in terms of getting social assistance. I was out canvassing this weekend, and I was shocked at the conditions that some of my seniors are living in. One woman told me, I went to her and I said, "Good morning, how are you?" She said, "I am stressed and I'm depressed." And I think that describes a number of seniors in Bermuda who are, this group of people, for example, and it's in Alexandria Road right behind ZBM. And that group of people, for example, they're living on, a building with 3 stories and no elevator. And so they have to walk up 3 steps of stairs. And most of the people in that building, if all of them, are over the age of 70. So these are things that we should look at. They have water problems in that area. They have lighting problems. And they've been asking, according to them, for years, and they get promises that it's going to be done, and nothing's been done.
What do you see as, apart from that, the greatest issues concerning C13?
Like everywhere, the cost of living. The cost of living is way too high, and nothing's really been done to bring the cost of living down, except to say we put a little more money in your pocket. We added, we increased by the inflationary rate of 2%. Well, if you increase by the rate of inflation, well, that means I didn't get a raise at all. And people need to understand the economics of how the country is run, et cetera. And it's unfortunate. I mean, these are people who I like and love. I don't have anything against the PLP per se, but their time is short. I personally think that if people continue to vote for the PLP, they're going to get the same thing. How are you going? What's going to change? And if the independents can make a difference in Bermuda, and I'm sure we will, then that would be helpful in moving us across. And hopefully, the political parties will get on their toes more. And don't forget, we'll work with them. I mean, if we bring legislation to Parliament, let's say it's only 10 of us elected, we can't do anything about that. So we have to constantly work with the parties, the political parties. And I think this is the sort of thing that Bermuda needs, rather than always being divided along political lines.
Given your background in international business finance, to what extent do you believe, or rather attribute the government's work and input into the recent growth and success in IB and the reputation of the island in Europe and internationally?
Well, first of all, the IB success is based on the IB. That we have to get clear. Bermuda's role is to assist in making sure that we get the reputation of Bermuda where it should be. That's the main reason that international business come here. It's because of the reputation of Bermuda. So we have the finance ministry. We have what's it called? Sorry, I've been a blank. Monetary authority, yes, we have the monetary authority. We have the banking industry, and they're all working to ensure that international business stays top of the line so we can get people to come to Bermuda, and knowing that we are a pristine jurisdiction, with a AAA reputation. I mean, these are the reasons that people come to Bermuda, and we cannot afford to risk it, that reputation, through not making decisions that you need, for example, to get anything done in Bermuda, whether it's planning, whether it's work permits, everything takes a long time. Those things need to be improved, because you could form a company, for example, in our main competitor, which is Cayman Islands, in 3 weeks. In Bermuda, you'd be lucky if you get a bank account in 6 months. So things have to be tighter, and you have to know how to do it, and you have to understand that it's necessary to do it. And unfortunately, we have a lot of expertise in the civil service, thank God for that, and they can advise the government, but it's the government that needs to make a decision and also have a vision of where you want Bermuda to go. And if there is a vision, I don't think it's there, and it needs to be worked on more if there is one.
Just lastly from me, you're advocating for fewer MPs. Does that not increase the concentration of power to just a select few, and therefore be dangerous to such a small country like Bermuda?
Very good question. Okay, so I will compare you, when you say a small, okay, let's look at the Bahamas. The Bahamas has a population of 300,000, and they have 39 members of parliament. Barbados has a population, the opposite, 450. Bahamas, 300 and something, um, for Barbados. And Barbados has 30 members. We have 36. So per capita, Bermuda is actually the highest in the world in terms of MPs. MPs are very low paid in Bermuda too. And a member of parliament makes 56,000 a year. And once you take out their pension and they're not even making $4,000 a year, which is, I was surprised, because when I was an MP and I left in 2007, we were making $60,000. So the fact that it's declined, that people don't want MPs to be paid more, I think lower the number, because per capita we have way too many at 36. And if so, you could possibly increase the salary. And more importantly, you can attract people who would be interested in getting in politics. I mean, when I was there, I was with visionaries in the PLP. Lewis Brown Evans, Freddie Wade, David Allen, Jimmy Williams, Jennifer Smith. I mean, we had people who were visionaries, and you just don't have it now. Now it's like fighting, what should we do? And now it's much more of a dictatorship than we ever had. If I was a minister, I was allowed to pick my own boards, decide on what policy I want, but that's not the case now. There's oversight.
So it's primarily a financial motive, would you say?
Having 36 MPs, I don't know. People have to decide why they're doing it. I know it's not for me at 56,000. I'm sure it isn't for a lot of other people. And I guess that's why people have other jobs.
Travel entertainment. Did you anticipate you stepping away from this party? Did you anticipate the direction in which the party is today?
Did I expect to step away?
As you stepped away,
Mm-hmm.
and the direction in which the party is today, did you see that going that way?
Yes, under the current administration, it was obviously going that way, which is why I left.
You spoke of I'll call it novice.
Mhm.
It's the first time. No business, not learning how to run a business. Your words.
Yes.
A bad move, you say, on current administration?
Well, no, the electorate voted for them. It's not like they all walked up into Parliament. People voted for them. They know who's canvassing, who's out there. People listen to the debates. They watch the newspaper, and you notice there's only always about four members of Parliament that speak. That you actually see stuff. They're members of Parliament, and I listen to the debates fairly frequently. I've never heard speak. It's going on 5 years, and some people never speak. They all probably made their maiden speech, I assume, but and they all know it. I mean, it's not like they keep it to themselves. I'm sure they complain to you as well, Trevor. People complain that, they're not happy, but they stay for whatever reasons. And the point is, the public has to understand they're the ones who put and elect the members of Parliament. They're the ones. So to complain about them, if you're not pleased, vote them out. And start saying Bermuda all the way Bermuda, instead of PLP all the way PLP, which we hear all the time. I want people to start thinking about Bermuda and what we have to offer and what's happening on our young people. That's another story. But anyway, so if you look on the back I put 10 points, which I'm going to definitely work on and fight for, in addition to other things, of course. But the main thing is to look at other options from party politics. And this is what this is all about.
If successful, what might you bring to the table?
You asked me that question, Trevor? After listening to me? I'll bring much to the table. Ask me which area. I understand economics. I've owned businesses. I understand finance. Which part do you want me to talk about? Will I stand up for the average Bermudian? Oh, yes. And people are used to me standing up for them. And I've been mentoring people for years. I never went anywhere. I always just in the private sector. And I have a number of young people who I literally work with. Whether they're doing a business, whether they want advice, I do all of it. Yes.
Thank you. Sarah Lagan from the World Gazette.
Hi, Sarah.
So yes, you do have a background in business and finance. So perhaps it might be interesting to hear your views on the corporate income tax for David Burt's administration's reliance on that for certain issues.
Okay, that's a good question as well. So, of course, the OECD, as you know, was the one who came up trying to balance a tax system because those who pay taxes were complaining about those companies that are offshore that don't pay any tax. So they wanted to bring about a balance, so they introduced the corporate income tax. Bermuda, of course, being an overseas jurisdiction with many international companies that obviously are not paying tax to their main country, which tends to be in the large part the US, will be paying 15%. Now, how that's going to take in terms of collecting the money and who's going to pay, because you got a good lawyer, you can avoid anything. So how that's going to pay will be interesting. But whatever is paid, if it's the 785 million, I think that the premier thinks we'll get, could be more, could be less.
Annually, yeah.
Could be more, could be less. Depends on what the companies do, because we have many international businesses that actually fall within that domain of making over the $785 million, and they would have to be paying 15% tax. Well, even if 100 paid it, it would be a lot of money for Bermuda. We have over, a couple of thousand companies that would actually be required to pay it. But what I would like to see, number one, is that we start putting Bermudians first. That's something that we pay lip service to, and it's not done. So Bermudians are leaving the country, looking for opportunities in the UK. They get off the plane and they have all sorts of benefits right from the beginning. In Bermuda, you don't get any of those benefits. You don't get free housing, free education, etc. I would like to see, number one, every university student that goes to university be committed. I'm going to do a 4-year university degree. The government pays for you, and you have to come back for 4 years and contribute to your country. That's a way of getting them back, getting them interested in Bermuda, building the economy, and helping our young people. I think that's very important. Our seniors have to come first. We have to do something to help our seniors. Not only just paying off the debt, and I think we definitely should pay part of it during the debt, but I think we need to help Bermudans. We give $70 million to billionaires that come in here and buy our hotel. That's 70. When did $70 million ever get donated to Bermudians? Bermudians are paying taxes. Those are our tax dollars that we're giving. The $200 million that we paid Morgan's Point to bail them out, those are the people's tax dollars. I'm all very happy if we can help those businesses. But I think if you're coming here with billions of dollars, you should bring your own money personally until Bermudians get out of the quagmire that we're in. The other thing, government should set up importing staple food and giving them to the people, selling them, of course, but at least it will be less of a price that they have to pay to the marketplace group, etc. So we need to look out for our people. That would be the biggest thing I would tell you. That would be first and foremost for me.
So all those things you were mentioning there, that was in reference to the corporate income tax
Yes.
and how you'd like to see that be used.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
As long as Bermudians come first, I'm for it.
Okay, sure. And then you've been asked this before, but doesn't this independent movement fracture the vote and spell a win for the PLP?
I don't think so. I'll tell you why.
Why?
It depends on the person and the votes they get, obviously. Now, if you look at somebody like in 31, where Renee Webb is running, for example, she's very popular there. Very popular in her community. She's worked very hard. She's running against 3 other women, which is interesting. This is the first time we've ever had a constituency with 4 women running. So she's running against 2 independent. She's independent. She's running against another independent. She's running against the incumbent, who's Crystal Caesar, and her. Well, I don't think necessarily the votes with somebody as strong as her that she couldn't win. It depends on the votes and where the people are at. I mean, if people don't want to vote PLP, and a number of people have said they're not coming out to vote, well, I hope those people have another choice now in the independent candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not convinced. I also think that I can win my seat. I don't think I'll have a problem winning my seat. I do the work. I'm canvassing. People know who I am, and why wouldn't I win? And they know that I'm in it to help Bermudians. So I would like to win, and I expect to win. But the OBA hasn't announced anyone yet, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. So I think how strong the person is will make a difference, and where the constituents are in that constituency in terms of how they view the world. And where I'm running allegedly is a PLP stronghold. So it'll be interesting.
Okay, great. And then you talked about the number of MPs. You'd like to reduce the number to 22, I believe. What about the size of the civil service? Do you think that it is a bloated civil service currently?
I think the civil service is definitely bloated, but the areas that it was when I was there are totally different from now. So obviously we have to have the civil service held accountable. They, on the other hand, make a lot of money, unlike MPs. So we have to hold them accountable. That's definite. And if people are telling me, oh, I'm trying to get my house through planning and I can't get it through, or they're telling me, it's difficult to go and get assistance from social services, those are all civil servants working. Why is it taking so long to do things? And that's what we need to look at. And Bermuda needs to be much more efficient. And the civil servants are running all those departments, so we have to build on it. But you know what happens? Political parties tend to stay away from the civil service. I mean, I remember when we were running the first time, we were advised, don't mess with the civil service. Civil service can vote you out in a hot minute. So, the civil servants have to look at Bermuda and think, I want my country to be stronger for the future. And the way it's going, it's on a spiral downward, and everybody needs to help get on board. That's why I'm here, because otherwise I could be doing other things, coming out of semi-retirement to making sure that I help my country. I love my country, and I love my people.
Okay, final question. You said that you are not a party, the independents are not a party. Perhaps you might have some common ground along the way, aside from all wanting to be independents. Are you ruling out a party being able to be formed?
Totally. We're clear on that. None of us.
Or your ideas on a coalition?
On a coalition. Okay, let's give an example. So let's say the PLP gets, I don't know, how many votes they have? They have 30 seats. So let's say they go down to 18. Now, clearly, they cannot be the government with only 18. And so that means that the difference would be split between us and I assume the OBA as well. So the question you're asking is, well, you would have to have a coalition government or go back to the polls. That's the only way, because none of the 3 would have enough to form a government. And in that case, we would have to come together and see how that works out. So in that case, that would be a coalition government. But none of us are looking at it going into it, because everybody's discussed it. They're like, no, they want to see what happens. We haven't discussed it with the PLP, though. That's not even a possibility. But we have discussed it with the OBA. But if the time comes and the numbers are not there, everybody's going to be looking at how they can form the government. And quite frankly, that could be a better thing for Bermuda, because at least you won't be fighting over party politics.
Madam, with the Southampton Princess, largest hotel, been closed for 4 years old. Do you think that this development That was going on up there. It's going to come to fruition.
Well, I saw all of the MPs up there with shovels the other day, so I assume everything 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 must be happening. I mean, according to the owner, I think his name is Craig Mabry. Chris Mabry, not Craig. Yeah, there is Craig Mabry. Okay, so I think what he said the other day was that they'll have jobs, but they don't have enough Bermudians to fill them. Now, I am going to tell you, they are saying it's going to be 800 people working there. Mark my word, I'll be happy to see even if it's 300 Bermudians, but I doubt it. That's another place that foreigners are benefiting. Foreigners benefit from everything in this country. They're in Balco, and I'm glad. The airport, they don't own it. They allegedly are managing it. But all of these companies here, all of them, the majority under the PLP, which is unfortunate. We've sold so much stuff and took away the 60/40. I mean, at least when we had 60/40, Bermudians could benefit from having ownership. People might say, well, they were white people, but they were Bermudians. And so what we need to do is work on having more Black Bermudians to own some of the economic resources and shift the paradigm in this country. And it's never been an objective of the PLP government. Why not? Why should our people always be employers and we're always creating jobs? Oh, let's give 70 million to this one because he's going to create jobs for Bermudians. I'm not convinced at all. And maybe a few, but they had a lot of foreigners. I mean, Bermudians aren't in the hospitality industry anymore. You don't see Bermudians running around cooking or being waitresses. You don't see it anymore. I mean, when we were growing up, most of us, our parents were in that industry, at least mine were. And it was very common. But right now, I'm telling you, Bermuda is in serious problems. And that's why I'm getting involved.
It was a gateway for Bermudans to enter the market through those towns years ago.
Exactly. And I mean, everybody. And now, of course, people want to get into international business, and that's great. But there are other sectors of the economy that we need to work on, which I think is why we have to educate our young people who want to get educated. And also, we should have special scholarships. So we need 5 engineers, for example. The government pays for them, and they decide, okay, you come back, you're going to be an engineer, you get, 5-year scholarship, which the government pays. It's going to have enough money to do it, allegedly under the CIT.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Thank you, guys. You got me talking a lot. I appreciate you.